Mr. Christopher Sieber, so
Hi,
good to
Paul.
see you.
Hi, Paul. It's nice to be here
Still on the
again.
boards.
I
and
know
this,
I'm still here.
This,
I'm still here.
yeah, well, you do Sondheim. You do
Yeah,
everything.
I do it all.
But right now you're doing this.
I am.
Big, massive,
It's-
smash hit.
We're still here,
you're
and we're
kind
still
of
doing
like-
it. The audiences are coming, and they're loving it, and it's awesome. It's so great.
I was thinking about your career because
Oh,
I feel
boy.
like I've seen basically all of it from the start, and you're kind of at like a beautiful peak in this career filled with many beautiful. You're in a big hit Broadway musical.
Yeah, I'm happily in a very nice place to be. I guess.
Yeah.
I guess it's, and I'll say, I guess it's earned. You
Sure,
know, because
of course.
I've done a lot of things, and it's so funny. You know, you look. Every now and then you would look back. I rarely do, but when you do look back and you see, oh my God, I did all that. Oh my God, it's crazy. And then the things in between the big things.
Right,
You know,
sure.
it's just, oh my God, I've
Yeah.
done so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still a pleasure being here. I mean, we still have we just got Betsy Wolfe.
Betsy Wolfe. You got
And
a new Madeline.
She's amazing. She's incredible.
Uh-huh,
She plays the
okay.
part completely different.
Okay.
And so the energy she brought to the show is just incredible.
Yeah.
And the audiences immediately fell in love with her, and so did we. And so she just slipped right in, and it wasn't a problem. And it was just, she was just like theirs, like she'd been doing it for years.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And is that not always the case?
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
sometimes
you know-
when you have a new co-star, it takes a little time to sort of find the rhythm, right?
Right. Yeah. Every now and then, you know, I've replaced people, you know, a few times
Yeah.
too, and you know, you watch the show and you see and you kind of meet the cast, but there are moments where you don't really get to meet the cast because of just the layout of the show. And she was backstage. She was trailing. She was watching the show. She was paying attention to everything. She was in the studio working. But yeah, every now and then, sometimes to understand how the company that's existing works, you have to find your way to fit in. And she found it right away and just right in there. But yeah, there are always growing pains.
Right,
You know,
sure.
when you go into a show like
Yeah.
Lacage. Well, when I went into Lacage with Harvey, I had 7 days.
Right,
You know,
right.
and so I went in and I was like, it was kind of one of those things. I was like, when they stop talking, that's when I say my words. You know?
Just wait for them to stop talking.
Okay. Now I say my words. So
So you're playing Ernest.
I am
Menville.
Ernest Menville, Surgeon to the Stars.
He's kind of the Fiyero in the. I guess you know if we're talking about musicals about powerful women,
Yes.
Ernest is the guy between these
I
two.
am totally between two incredibly powerful women.
Yes.
Yeah.
Madeline and Helen.
And I learned during rehearsals, and just because the way it's written.
Yeah.
Well, it's also Jennifer, and it was Megan Hilty.
Yeah, Jennifer Smart,
And, I
yeah.
mean, come on. They're incredible, both of them. And so the best thing, especially during rehearsals, I just realized, I think it's best if I just get out of their way.
Uh-huh.
And that's what I did the entire rehearsal. But it actually worked for the part, because Ernest is kind of in their way.
Yeah.
And Ernest is just kind of the beige person in
Yeah.
between the sparkles.
Yeah.
And but the one thing about Ernest, which I don't know if a lot of people know this, but he really truly is the straight man between two comedians.
Yeah.
So Ernest does set up a lot of punchlines
Yes,
and everything.
yes.
And that is exhausting. That is exhausting because it's like, so you have to be so specific and you have to be so focused and and then they get to land the jokes and they're like, well, it's our laugh, and I was like, yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, isn't he referred to by Helen as a boring old willow tree?
A boring old willow tree,
Yeah.
which is like the sturdy guy that's always there.
Yeah.
And Samard calls me Treber because I'm like the sturdy guy that is always yeah.
So that's you too. Do you have that
Yeah.
energy? You're
Yeah, I
kind
have-
of like-
I'm
you're
a solid-
good Midwestern
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
To sort of
I'm
keep
the solid.
things-
I'm the solid. I'll just like, okay, let's just deal with this. It's gonna be fine. You know, there are problems in in every show. There's some stuff that happens, or
Yeah.
things go wrong. But I'm like, okay, this is gonna be great. We
Uh-huh.
got this. It's gonna be great. We're gonna fix it. It's gonna be great. It's not a problem.
Has that served you well in your career? I feel like it must have. I feel like you have a great reputation
Yeah.
in the industry.
Thank you, I
You have a
do.
very robust IBDB page. You've done a lot. So I feel like that that must come into play, right? Because they know that you're gonna, even if it's like getting you cast in a reading or something early on, right? You do a lot of those things.
I do.
And a lot of those things. Did you do the early reading?
I did. We did all of the early stuff,
Right.
actually, because my friend Marco Panett, who wrote the book to
Yes.
this,
Yes.
he's been a friend for back when I was doing a sitcom with the Olsen twins back in
Yes. Oh, I remember
1997,
that.
97, 98 or something. And we met there. And he had a show called Caroline in the City.
Right.
And he's written a lot of television. But anyway, we became friends. And for 30 some odd years, he kept on saying, hey, I'm going to put you in one of my shows. I'm going to put you in one of my sitcoms. I was like, great. Never happened. Never happened for 30 years. And then Marco, who's still, I mean, honestly, one of my closest friends, asked me, hey, I wrote a Broadway show. Would you like to read it? Can you tell me, what do you think? And I said, sure. And I said, I love it because when you laugh kind of on page 1 or 2 of a script, you know you're in for good stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what happened here. And I'm not just saying because Marco's a dear friend of mine, but when you read a script and it's like, oh my God, it sets the tone immediately and you know where you're headed. And I read it and I said, Marco, this is amazing. And he said, do you want to maybe think about doing it? I was like, yes, of course I'll do this. And then it just turned into this.
I feel like you're the kind of guy that would be really reliable to get in early to like make a script work, and then you get in the room and you like people probably get like, well, who else are we going to get but Chris Sieber?
Well,
I mean,
that's very kind. That's very kind. But no, I do like to. I always say it's going to be great, and that's a phrase that I've adopted after the last like 5-6 years because it truly isn't like now that you know what we talked about. Like I've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
It really is, and when I realize that, it is going to be great because there are things that when you do them, you're just helping out, and there's no stakes, I guess. There's
Right.
no
Or expectations of
expectation
what it'll lead
or
to.
investment
Right.
or anything like that. I am literally there to help people,
Yeah.
and that's what I love to do. I love to help people create, and I love to create within their creation. So, but there are times when it's not so great.
Sure.
And you read it, and it's fine, and that's going to be great because what comes out of that is going to be so many great things.
Yeah.
And there are times when, things just don't work. That's why we do it, to make things better and to get it better. And then we continue to do that on stage.
Yeah.
Every single performance, we tweak our performances, and that just happens. And it's been happening for a year, almost a year and a half now.
There are a lot of things I love about this show and a lot of reasons why I think it's become the hit. Other than it's a great title. I've loved this title since the movie. Since I remember seeing the movie for the first time and just falling in love with the madness of it. But one of the things that's really refreshing about it is getting to see 3 real theater stars, when you opened.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of concern these days about sort of dropping in names into shows.
Yeah.
And these are real Broadway names and like just killing it in these roles that were originally big stars, right? Like they had that sort of star. Bruce Willis was played this role. And that's one of the things I love about this show. And I think audiences just love seeing real theater people just like dig into something like this.
Yeah. We have. I mean, we were. Yeah, I agree because we were very lucky, especially, things now. You do see that a lot where they bring in the movie star or the television star, and there's nothing wrong with that because they're unbelievably incredible.
Yeah.
But there is something to be said about Broadway people doing a Broadway show.
Yeah.
Because Broadway, we know exactly how everything works, and it's interesting you should say that again. So I'm going to go back to Marco 1 second because Marco has never done a Broadway show.
Right.
And he's kind of tweaked a show on the 20th century. But he would keep coming to me as like, so what's happening? And he's a sitcom writer. So he would cut a joke if it didn't get a laugh. And I was like, Marco, we're not filming on Friday, okay? So just let it be. Let it be for a second. And let's find out where we're headed with this. And I was going to tell, like during the creation, I said, there's going to be a day in about 2 weeks where you're going to feel extremely untalented. Yeah. And you may cry. And the same for me. And the same thing will go for me. Right. There will be a day or two where you're just like, they got the wrong guy. I should probably quit. And I will go home and cry and then close the door and then, eat a pint of ice cream. And he came back to me the next day and he said, how did you know about this? How did you know about this? Because he did it. Wow. And I said, well, because that's where it is. There will be days when just suck. But the Broadway people know this. Yeah. So when we go into a Broadway show, we know there are going to be moments where it's just going to be like, oh my God, this is never going to happen. It's never going to happen. And it always does. Yeah. And it always does.
Yeah, and Jennifer Samard, who I know is a friend of yours, and you were in company together, obviously right before this. This is her first lead on Broadway in a
Yeah.
Broadway. I mean, it's
Above the
just,
title stuff.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
but now a year and a half into this,
Right.
people wouldn't even remember that. So
Right.
it's just been beautiful how it's sort of elevated all of you.
When I guess it was her first time over the title for her, and but it was interesting too because it's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's actually terrifying when they put your name up there, and I really don't. That doesn't matter all that much to me. I mean, there's things. The bio is one thing you put in the playbill, and I'm like, whatever. But then the curtain call is another thing that doesn't really mean. I mean, yeah, sure, I'll do the curtain call, but as far as I guess there's a hierarchy of the last bow is like the star bow, but that doesn't bother me. But the thing above the title, that one really made me kind of anxious.
Yeah.
And Jennifer and I spoke about it, and it was just like I don't is this right? Is this right?
Yeah.
I don't know if this is right.
Yeah.
And then there's the pressure on top of you, like, do you deserve to be over the title? And I guess so. We made it. We're okay.
Why else do you think it's taken off?
Well,
What's the secret of the sauce? Because you're a Broadway pro.
This is because it's an odd show because it is, number one, it's well known. Number two, we've kept all the bits that the fans of the movie love.
Yeah.
So all the lines and all the story. But Marco and Julia and Noel were able to write a show with the gist of that, and then write their own show.
Yeah.
We still have the story, but they were able to write it, and all three of them write together as if they're one person, which is a rare thing.
Yeah.
The music and the book go together just like it always was there. The other thing is, like, we take our show so seriously, but it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous, and that's as far as comedy goes. It's set up so well by Michelle's song right at the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's like we have two opening numbers, which is kind of weird,
Right.
but it works. The tone is set up by Michelle, and then it goes right into Madeline's huge number, which is crazy. It sets up the show. So the audience is on board probably within the first 7 minutes of the show. And from there, it's all set up and we're great. But you have to play everything honestly, genuine, and straight, because we're very serious people doing very stupid things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And ridiculous. Because this, of course, wouldn't happen in real life, but we have to believe that it did.
Yeah.
And it just works,
Yeah.
And
By the way, you mentioned Michelle. That's Michelle Williams, a child of destiny.
Yeah,
So I mean, I talked
destiny.
about famous people. I mean, but it's also a theater person.
She is totally a theater person. Yeah, she's totally a theater person.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
The other thing I love about this show is it just looks fabulous. I feel like audiences want like an experience, right? And it just feels like you're at a big glamorous Broadway
It is a very
show.
big glamorous
Yeah,
Broadway show. The only
yeah.
thing I think we're missing is fireworks. I think we have it all. I think we have it all.
So how do you feel at this point in your career? I think is this also like maybe your longest run on Broadway at this point?
Well, there's been a couple long runs.
I mean, Spamalot, you were
Matilda
in and
was
out.
there. Matilda, I was in Matilda for about almost 2.5 years.
Oh, okay, Matilda,
That was
okay.
long.
Yeah.
Spamalot, which was great. That was about 2.5 years because I did the run. Then I went to London, opened it there with Tim Curry, came back and did another couple, like 6 months with Hannah Waddingham, who was my Lady of the Lake back over there in London.
Everyone knows her now.
Everyone knows her now. and so Spamalot. But Spamalot was, there are shows that it's not even work. And that was one of those, Spamalot was one of those shows that's not even work.
Yeah. So what do you look for now? I mean, at this point, like, are you just always, how do you look at your career? I'm sure you're a very different guy than you were when you went in as Gaston in Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, I just know stuff now.
Yeah.
I just know.
That's a Sondheim song.
I just know stuff.
I know things.
I know things
Sondheim
now.
wouldn't
I know
say stuff.
things now, man. Wonderful. I do know. I mean, it is interesting, and I do say this too when I speak to kids in high schools and I teach. I say, you know what? I'm really not more talented than a lot of people. I really am not. I just know more. I just know how to do things. So it doesn't mean you have talent. It's just that I know how to do things. And I say yes a lot, and I have a yes problem. I do say yes to, hey, we're doing this thing. I was like, yes, let's do it.
Right.
And it does get me in trouble because I'm exhausted most of the time. But I love doing it. I love being part of it. And so I will continue to go. I'm going to be 57 in February.
Oh, happy
And
birthday,
I know,
early birthday.
I know,
Okay.
I made it.
Looking
You know,
good.
I look amazing.
Yes, you do.
And I'm going to keep going until I can't go. You know, and it is odd. You know, I was saying the other day, where was I? I was at Pearl Studios or Ripley Greer, where all the
One of the
Broadway,
places.
you know, the Broadway
Yeah.
shows rehearse
Yeah.
and or audition. And I remember when I first moved to New York City in 1988, and everyone went to 890 Broadway, which is way downtown, which was the place. It was Michael Bennett's building, and everyone would rehearse there, and every floor had a Broadway show rehearsing or auditioning, and it was amazing. And you would sit in the hallway for an audition, and down the hallway would come walking Tommy Tune or Cheetah Rivera or even Gwen Verdon at the time.
Yeah.
And these Broadway stars that you've known your entire life. And they're walking down the hallway, and you go, oh, my God, it's Tommy Tune, it's Cheetah Rivera, it's Gwen Verdon, oh, my God. I'm one of those people now.
Yeah.
I walk down the hallway, and these people are like, it's Christopher Sieber. And I'm like, yeah, it's just me, but geez, you know. Yeah, it is. It's you know, I guess it just took some realization where you're like, oh, my God, I'm that person now. Oh, my God. And all I can do is be kind. Is like, keep going. You're gonna do great.
Yeah.
You're gonna do great things.
Yeah. You've earned it.
You will. You guys. It's gonna work out. Just keep going.
Well, you've done incredible work, and I just love to see what you're going to do next. And you just stay busy. And
I do.
I'm always going to be in the audience cheering for
Oh,
it.
thanks. Well, we've known each other forever.
Forever. Well, everyone can go see you at the L'Enfantin, and also great theater.
L'Enfantin Theater. My
Yeah,
second time there. I did Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the
there.
Beast. You made your Broadway debut.
Yes. And I met my husband there too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. How incredible. I love that.
it was
So you
nice.
got a lot of history there.
Yeah.
So everyone can go and enjoy the history.
Yes.
And enjoy you
Yes.
as Ernest in
Yeah.
between the insane ladies that you deal with every night. Thank you so much, Chris. Good
You're
to see
welcome,
you.
Paul. Nice to see you.